But that's the context in which it takes place. Thomas, you have a follow-up question.
Yes, how about the rule of law after the judgment yesterday?
Listen, I cannot anticipate. So, as I said, the main focus of the discussions will be on the situation in Ukraine, response and preparedness. So that's the context in which they meet. But of course, many other issues can be raised. You mentioned rule of law issues. This belong to current affairs. So to be seen, we will be happy to provide you a readout after the meeting has taken place. Thank you. Are there any additional questions on this subject? Odile has her hand up. Donc, Odile, vas-y, c'est à toi.
Odile, the floor is yours, please. I apologize. It's not actually on this particular subject. But I was having connection issues. It's on a different subject. Odile, I can't see any other hands raised, so it's you. You have the floor. Now, the Élysée press conference. And here, mention was made talking about withdrawal, redeployment of forces. The president of Senegal, Macky Sall, who is also the president of the African Union, the suggestion was taken that the idea of redeployment of forces in the Sahel is going to be something dealt with at United Nations level. So that was an initial suggestion that has been put on the table, and we'll have to see whether that is followed up in all reality. There are a considerable number of observers who are saying, yes, we'll be redeploying to Niger, but in fact, everyone, we know that that is one of the largest uranium reserves. Perhaps might that actually not be more for the Europe's economic benefit? Is that why there's that suggestion? So I'm keen to hear more about that. Thank you. Thank you, Odile. Thank you for that question. I'll give the floor to Annabella to respond to you on that. Nonetheless, I can't really hear any questions, moreover comments in what you've had to say and what has been said already in a press conference this morning. Annabella, perhaps you'll be able to expand on our own policy regarding this specific region. Yes, thank you, Odile. I confess I didn't hear any questions either in what you had to say. Nonetheless, that said, I have to repeat what your representative has said on a number of occasions. We are committed here, and we applaud the efforts made by France. What is the situation in the Sahel? No doubt and you may have heard the comments made on the doorstep as President Macron went into the summit that has kicked off this morning. Now, what is important at this juncture and as regards the European Union's mission, this has been said on a number of occasions as well. Yes, undoubtedly there will be repercussions. Our High Representative has said they will send a mission to Bamako to take stock of the situation and understand the potential guarantees for any EU TM Capsule mission that there may well be to Mali. So that's what I have to say as regards our commitment on the ground. Thank you, Nabila. Are there any further questions for Nabila on this particular subject? Our commitment on the ground in Mali and in the region as a whole? No, I see no further comments or questions there. Tommaso, you have a question. You have a question. I don't know if it's on this subject. I can't see anybody else. So the floor is yours, Tommaso.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the floor. A question for Nabila, but it's not on Mali. It's the meeting with President Sisi, the President of Egypt, the subject of human rights in Egypt has come up. What about Guido Regini, the young Italian man who was killed after being tortured for a number of days? In this particular case, Egyptian authorities are not cooperating at all with Italian authorities. Did the President tackle this subject as well? Thank you very much, Tommaso, for your question. It's not a question for Nabila as such, it's more a question for me. As far as the discussion that took place between President von der Leyen and the Egyptian President, well, as you saw this on the official social media, there was a very short meeting that took place this morning, and that was in the context of the preparation of the EU-AU summit. The discussion was general in nature, to do with economic relations and economic opportunities between the European Union and Egypt, regional stability, human rights, energy and climate. So as you can see, it's a wide range of subjects that were touched upon during this short meeting. Now, the issue of human rights is systematically covered in exchanges with our partners from across the world, but I can't say specifically what was said on the very tragic case that you mentioned, of which we are well aware of. As I say, it was a very short meeting, and they covered a wide range of subjects. I don't think that there was an opportunity to go into the details of this case. Now, if you want to know more about our position on this, I can, of course, invite Peter. Actually, I'll invite him up to the podium to give you some more information about this on our position on this very tragic case. Thank you. Thank you very much. As far as the case is concerned, well, discussions have been ongoing with our regional partners, and we have opened up this subject for discussion with our Egyptian counterparts, not just bilaterally, but also at UN level and the Human Rights Council. We have asked for, and we continue to ask for, cooperation from the part of Egyptian authorities to fully cooperate with the Italian authorities in the investigation surrounding the circumstances of the death of Mr. Giulio Regeni. So this is a topic that where discussion is very much ongoing with Egypt. Our position is very clear. We want to support the Italian authorities in this situation. Thank you very much, Peter. Any further questions on this?
Slightly different topic. It's Ukraine-Russia. That's you, Peter, isn't it? Just on the meeting happening very shortly, is it correct that the Commission President's going to present details of any sort on the sanctions package, and is that package ready?
Thank you very much for the question. It would rather be for me. Look, the discussion you have seen from the invitation coming from the President of the European Council, who has convened this meeting, is to discuss the situation in Ukraine, to further coordinate our positions and to discuss about preparedness, but I'm not in a position to give you, before the meeting has started, any detailed indication about what will be said there. There will be ways in which we will communicate about the meeting and the outcomes, but I'm not going to prejudge here before the meeting has started about the dynamic and the main focus of that meeting, which is, as I said, in the broader context of the situation in Ukraine and our coordination about response and preparedness. Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, Angela Mauro, Huffington Post. Can you just tell us if they're going to discuss the eventual sanctions against Russia?
Thank you, Angela, for relaunching the question. Once more, you have seen the context in which the President of the European Council has convened the meeting, whose main aim, the way we see it, is to coordinate our positions among EU leaders on what is happening in and around Ukraine, and to discuss our preparedness and response. But I'm not going to be in a position to prejudge and give more details at this stage before the meeting has even started. Yes, go ahead, Peter.
And just to add procedurally one thing, because there seems to be quite a confusion based on, I don't know what, all sorts of information or disinformation that is circulating. The sanctions of the European Union are reactive. That means that we are going to discuss concrete proposals within the institutions and with the member states once we see a concrete action to which we will be then reacting with a corresponding appropriate proposal, because the EU sanctions are very strictly and transparently legally based and justified. So once we see an action by Russia in this case, then there will be a reaction in form of a proposal of a concrete appropriate restrictive measure. Before anything happens, we cannot discuss sanctions because we would be just speculating about the potential crime to which we are going to react. So this is very important to bear in mind. So whatever has been done in terms of sanctions is preparing all the possibilities that could be used in case Russia decides to continue its provocative behavior and Russia decides to attack Ukraine again, or if Russia decides to violate international law or sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine in any other way.
Indeed, Peter, and this is what we have been discussing for many, many weeks and actually months now, in very tight, close contacts at various levels, bilaterally or multilaterally, in the EU and with our allies. Angela, you have a follow-up question.
I was asking my question because of two reasons. Today, the foreign minister, the Russian foreign minister, Lavrov, said that today they're going to publish, finally, their response to the Atlantic Alliance, to the West, basically. And the other reason is that this morning, both Kiev and Moscow, basically they agreed on the fact that there are confrontations, serious confrontations in Donbass between the Russian forces and the separatist forces and the Ukrainian, with some wounded people, and the situation, the tension is very high there. So I was thinking that maybe today, as the leaders are all here, could be the perfect timing to discuss the sanctions. That's why.
Well, thank you very much, Angela. We understand, of course, the context in which you are asking your questions, and we follow very closely the evolution of the situation there. Well, let us be very clear. We do believe in dialogue and engagement. This is something which we have made clear at all levels, systematically and intensely, and we keep on making that clear. The President said it yesterday in the European Parliament. She repeated this morning before the meeting that she had with the Prime Minister of Czechia. Diplomacy has not spoken its last words. We still have hope that a diplomatic and peaceful solution will prevail. We observe, of course, what is happening on the ground. We have seen the signals coming from Moscow over the last days, but it's very important for us to see concrete signs of the escalation on the ground. You referred to the reports coming in this morning. I will, of course, also give the floor to Peter to elaborate more. But what is clear is that we are watching intently the situation there. We want to give all chances to dialogue and to a peaceful solution. And on our side, we are preparing for every eventuality, for every option. And this is what this meeting of the European Council, starting imminently, will also be about fine-tuning, strengthening, and further advancing our coordination and preparedness on all aspects of what may unfold. Very good. Yes, I see two additional questions in our chat. So, David, I take it this is for Peter. If that's the case, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I insist on this issue, but President von der Leyen, in her tweets, speeches, and other interview, for example, have announced several times a package of sanctions that include, for example, energy sector, financial sector, and so on. And in a tweet after her conversation with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau from Canada, she said sanctions will start at the top of the ladder. First question, what does it mean, at the top of the ladder? Second question, Peter. In another interview with some press agency, President von der Leyen said that the EU will be ready to adopt sanctions in a couple of days. So, do you have all the legal basis to adopt all the package of sanctions that you have prepared and you are not ready to share with us? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your questions, David. Since you referred to several interventions by the President herself, including her communication after an exchange with a head of government and a recent interview that she gave, allow me first to elaborate on those and on our position as expressed often actually in her communications by the President, after which I will give the floor to Peter. Indeed, what we have been saying repeatedly, and the President herself said and stressed, is that we will be prepared should Russia escalate further and should Russia act aggressively against Ukraine. That means that we will respond forcefully, and we will respond with sanctions which will be robust, severe, and comprehensive. That is how we have described the package of sanctions that we have been working on over the past weeks, and on which we had regular exchanges with our partners in the European Union and with our partners outside, in particular our transatlantic partners, but also the UK, for instance. Top of the ladder means that we are not going to go for a gradual approach, but we are going to hit hard. But everything is going to depend on what Russia is doing. And we are not going to elaborate in the public domain. We are not going to announce sanctions against a country through the press room. The message that we want to make very clear is that we are prepared, that we are determined, and we are coordinated and united with our allies. But the response and what exactly will be in this package of sanctions will always depend on what Russia is doing. And let me emphasize once more, because I do not want this to be taken out of context, the first thing to remember is that we are investing in a diplomatic solution, that we believe in dialogue, and we want to give all chances to diplomacy. This is our priority, and this is what we believe in as European Union. Peter? Any other questions on this matter? David, you have a follow-up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dana. The question is still there. Is the EU ready to, from a legal point of view, is the EU ready to adopt those sanctions in a couple of days?
Thank you, David. That question cannot be answered in the abstract without knowing what exactly part of the package we are discussing about. And as we have been trying to say, we are not going to elaborate on elements, on individual elements of the package, because as you rightly say, and no, the legal basis depends on the specific elements of substance that one can cover through that package. So it is premature, and we will not enter into discussions about legal basis. Just the thing to remember, and the thing that we want to make very clear, is that we are determined, we will be ready, and therefore we are confident that we can act quickly. Marcus, you have a question about that too. Go ahead. Marcus, are you still on the line? We try to have Marcus on the line.
I am?
Yes.
Hi. I also have a question on something the Commission President said yesterday in the European Parliament. She said that concerning the gas supplies, Europe is on the safe side for this winter. And I quote, in case Russia decides to partially or completely disrupt gas supplies to the EU. So given that the volume of Russian gas supply is very high, how exactly does this work? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for this question, Marcus, which actually refers to the element of preparedness. And as we have said very often, we have been looking very closely at our security of energy supply, and we have been taking action with many international partners in order to secure more energy, gas in the form of energy in particular, in order to cover the needs that we may have over the next months of winter. I think that I cannot, and I will never try to put it more clearly and more beautifully than the President put it yesterday in the European Parliament. I can really refer you to what she said there. And she also repeated the same things in several interviews. So in the short term, to cover any additional needs stemming from needs to go through the winter over the following weeks, we have been negotiating and we have been discussing with international partners that are producing LNG. So the main LNG suppliers, for instance, well, the United States, Qatar, Egypt, Azerbaijan, or Nigeria. We have been communicating regularly about that. The President herself was in touch with many of our partners on this, Commissioner Simpson herself. And this has been a matter of intense discussions and coordination between the EU and the US over the following weeks. You will remember that we have launched a partnership with the United States. We have announced that following a video conference involving the two presidents, Biden and von der Leyen. And we benefit from the strong support of the United States and of our other partners worldwide to ensure a stable level of LNG. And the President even gave very, very clear details with regards to that. And basically, we are confident that with the additional LNG deliveries from the 120 vessels which have been made available to us in January, so the equivalent of about 10 billion cubic meters of LNG, we have a layer of safety which have been building through our hard work with our partners around the world. The President and members of the College were also in touch with partners in order to swap contracts. I recall you that Tuesday morning, for instance, the President spoke on the phone with the Prime Minister of Japan about the possibility to replenish LNG supplies to Europe, and Japan accepted the possibility of swapping contracts so that to have more additional vessels bringing LNG to Europe. In addition to the securing additional volumes of LNG, the President also referred to the fact that we have been building internal networks of pipelines in the EU and interconnectors in such a way that these days we can divert gas flows basically in all directions to ensure access to gas and LNG across the Union. And on top of this preparedness, which is being discussed and acted upon at the EU level, member states themselves have contingency plans. Of course, you know that every member state has a different energy mix. Some use more gas than others. Some have more gas from Russia than others, so the impact would be different. But we are in close contact with member states, which also work on their contingency plans, and we are reassured that we are on the safe side, as the President put it, for sure for this winter. And of course, in the long term and in the medium term, our best investment and the most valuable one is that in renewable energies, which are safe, which are produced home, so we do not create new dependencies. We reduce our dependency on other suppliers, and of course they are green, so they will be good for our health, they will be good for our economy, and it's also a good geostrategic investment. Marcus, you have a follow-up question.
Yes, I have. So you told us, thank you very much. You told us something about the volume and the way the gas could arrive. Did the talks also involve the prices? So does the EU have the guarantee to get the gas at the price right now, or at a future price which could be way up, given the fact that Russia had, in that case, disrupted the gas supply? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Marcus. Of course, prices always depends on contracts. There are short-term contracts, there are long-term contracts, so it is impossible to mention something by way of a blanket statement regarding the price of additional supplies of LNG that we would be bringing to the European Union. It depends on the situation and the type of contract, as I said. Any additional questions for us on preparedness, energy more specifically? Yes, Odile. For Peter? We'll see. Odile, go ahead.
Well, it's about sanctions, but sanctions in Africa. So I don't know if it's relevant at this time.
C'est une question pertinente.
It's a relevant question. But we're going to have to change press officer. Odile, the floor is yours, please. Do go ahead. The CDAO still wishes to have sanctions placed upon Mali. The President of Ghana mentioned this morning. I would like to understand what your position on this subject is, bearing in mind, of course, that sanctions would have significant repercussions on the population, and we're talking about a population which is already highly affected. In the 20 poorest countries, we have many of the countries in the Sahel with people living upon $1 a day, and then the same rings true for the sub-Saharan Africa. You have the highest number of illiterate individuals, and in terms of security and development, one can deem the situation catastrophic. So these sanctions, do you lend your support to these? Do you deem them to be appropriate? Thank you, Odile. I believe that you are referring to sanctions that perhaps were put in place about a month ago. We have, in fact, lent our support to the CDAO. On the 13th of December, 2021, we put some sanctions in place. We put in place a new framework of sanctions. This was against anyone who obstructed the path to transition. Sanctions were also put in place against five individuals deemed to be obstructive to that transition process. Of course, I can repeat that, yes, we are committed to working with the population of Mali. We are lending our support to the population. And I think that this is all I can say on this subject. Thank you very much, Nabila. Nabila, do we have any other questions for her today? I can't see any further questions. Are there any other questions today on any other subjects? Yes, David.
Oui, merci. Question sur...
Migration, a question on migration. You've probably seen some of the articles published in The Guardian and in Der Spiegel concerning an accident, if one can call it that, in Greece involving two migrants who drowned, who were then thrown back into the sea by the either the Coast Guard or the police authorities, even though they had managed to make it through to a Greek island. I wanted to know what is going to be done about this. It's not the first time this has happened. Each and every time the Greek government, well, they deny the facts, but then each and every time we see that it actually is taking place and people are losing their lives, and the consequences are those of human lives. Well, thank you very much, David. Before I give the floor to Anita, I'd like to say that, of course, any loss of human life is a tragedy, and we see those images with a lot of sadness. Anita, now. Thank you, David, for the question. Indeed, the Commission is concerned by reports of refoulement and bad and poor treatment. Treating persons in such a way is intolerable. Our position is clear on this matter. National authorities have the duty, the responsibility to carry out investigations on any such matters in a swift and efficient manner. Thank you very much, Anita. David, a follow-up question. Yes. Anita, you say that national authorities have this responsibility to carry out an investigation, check the facts and so on, but this is well known in Greece that national authorities don't want to recognize what is actually happening. They're denying these facts. So do you think that the Greek authorities are reliable when it comes to doing their duty, when it comes to investigating the facts here, the Greek authorities? David, I have no further information on this point. Of course, we are cooperating with the Greek authorities in the context of such tragic incidents, but I can't say any more, and I certainly can't speculate anything on this subject. So yes, on this specific case, we can say no more at this point in time. But David, I can inform you and I can reassure you that the Commission continues to be in touch with the Greek authorities on fundamental rights-related matters, and this is both at political and technical level. And so we are continuing our bilateral contacts with the Greek authorities. David.
Maybe it will work better. My second question was not on the specific case. I'm asking if you trust the Greek authorities, since this is not the first case. In each case, whatever the Greek authorities said in the past, it was not true. So basically, do you trust in the subject of migration and such accidents, let's call them this way? Do you trust Greek authorities?
Thank you very much for your question, David, but believe me that changing the language is not going to change the answer. As I was saying, we are in contact with the Greek authorities at political level, at technical level, and we are addressing with them questions in relation to fundamental rights and reports on fundamental rights violations. It is not in our habit and in our tradition, nor will it be, and not will it be the case today, that we are making evaluations of our partners publicly from the press room. So we have constructive working relations with all authorities in the EU, with our partners, and we are going to address and we're going to continue to address with our Greek partners such reports at all appropriate levels. Are there any additional questions for us today on this subject or on others? I do not see any, so thank you very much for your questions and for the good discussions. You will have a busy day, as we will, with one informal European Council and an EU-Africa summit. Keep in touch. Stay well. Bye.